happened to this girl? So the internet is so concerned for this YouTuber named Kate Young. She made mukbang videos, and if you don't know what that is, they're videos where you're just eating and people are watching you. She was eating so much food in such a quick amount of time, as if she was being forced to eat. In the camera, you hear this person saying, faster, come on, things like that. So fast that she actually chipped her tooth in one and kept eating. When she chips her tooth, she shows it to the camera, and it's literally rotted.
That can happen to someone while on vacation. In this viral video, you see 43-year-old George Gillian and his wife Lizette Zambrano being electrocuted in a hot tub at the Sonoran Sea Resort in Mexico. George and Lizette stayed at this resort with other family members when on the evening of June 11th, they both decided to go in the hot tub when all of a sudden George felt an electric shock. In this interview, Lizette said that the last thing her husband said to her was, "Oh shit," before he was electrocuted over and over again.
Last thing I remember him saying is, "Oh," and it's the same time that I felt the first electric shock. And then it happened over and over and over. I didn't hear him again.
People who saw everything happen tried to help them out, but they couldn't do much because they were also being shocked by the electrical current. Lizette was eventually pulled out of the water with no pulse, but she was given CPR and she did survive. Unfortunately, her husband did not, and now she's suing the resort for $1 million. The lawsuit says that George was being electrocuted and drowned for 10 minutes, all while the people who worked at the resort watched and did not turn off the hot tub. It's alleged that there was faulty wiring in the hot tub which caused the electrical current. And while this is a rare occurrence, it's been said that some indicators of an electrical current inside a pool includes any underwater lights that might not be functioning properly. And it's also been advised not to swim before, during, or after a thunderstorm.
Beings human were never meant to see.
It's a tragic case.
Anton Lavey, founder of Church of Satan.
I won't mention his name, but it was a big leader and founder of a huge satanic organization. And he was on his deathbed. And for a Satanist, at the time of death, it's a great victory for them because death is a huge thing that they celebrate. And he was getting ready to die, pass on his powers and that. And on his deathbed, he must have got some revelation or an angelic appearance or something. And he went into shock and he said, oh my, what have I done? He said, there's something very wrong. There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong. And his whole life had been spent propagating these satanic beliefs.
Alistair Crowley, the man who spoke to demons.
Let's talk about...
What do you guys think? You think he saw something at the end? He was on one side, but when he got near close to the end, he completely, I guess, changed or switched his viewpoint. He must have saw something. What do you guys think?
Well, the unsolved case of Mr. Cruel. Mr. Cruel is the name given to this unknown man. He's a serial child predator. He attacked and assaulted 3 little girls in northern Australia. His crimes took place in the 1980s and the 1990s. He's been wanted since 1987, and police describe him as extremely intelligent. He meticulously stalks all of his victims and their families, and he leaves purposeful distractors at each site. There's also no forensic evidence left behind at all from him. He also always wore a mask to protect his identity, and it worked. And those masks you see on the left and right of me are so creepy. Something about the way that the left one looks over here is really messy. Apparently his behavior was unhurried and very calm, and he was soft-spoken. At one point during one of his attacks, he took a break to have a meal in the family's house. What? And he threatened the victim and the family if they even moved. So he straight up had these people in their own home while he ate a meal and then continued his attack after he was done. Dude is an absolute psychopath. Investigators believe that he took videos and pictures of his attack during the incidents, and if he is still alive, this will be one of the key clues in getting him. He still walks free to this day, though. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and happy Halloween.
How the hell they left no forensics behind? Do you know how like impossible that is? And they never caught him. We're gonna have to catch up on that Mr. Cruel case. See if they caught him at the end, man.
This is the devastating case of Kylie Rodney. On August 6, 2022, 16-year-old Kylie went missing at Prosser Family Campground in Truckee, California. Kylie attended a school party with more than 100 kids, but it's alleged that older people also showed up, which made a lot of the teens uncomfortable. Kylie texted her mom right before midnight and told her that she would be home in 45 minutes, but the following morning, Kylie's mother got super worried when Kylie was still not home. One of Kylie's friends said that she was with her the entire evening until she decided to go home at 12:20 a.m. Police searched Prosser Lake for more than 15 hours but were unable to find Kylie's vehicle. But on August 21st, a group of divers who go by the name Adventures with Purpose decided that they would help look for Kylie. It didn't take the group of divers much time to locate Kylie's car, only 14 feet underwater. The car was upside down and Kylie's body was inside. The investigation is still ongoing and the autopsy results have not been released yet. So what do you guys think happened to Kylie? Was this a tragic accident or was there foul play involved?
I'm gonna go with foul play. There was a party stuff going on. The
This
people
guy
showed
is the
up.
real Humpty Dumpty, and his story is much darker than you think. Deep in the eerie town of Puddlebrook, Kentucky, resided Gilbert Eggman, a man plagued by misfortune. His tale took a sinister turn when he joined the construction crew. Perched atop a towering brick wall on his very first day, 3 co-workers, fueled by malevolence, sent the ladder crashing down. Gilbert's pleas for help fell on deaf ears. Desperate to rescue him, the trio resorted to a crane. But destiny had other plans. The crane, guided by an unseen force, struck Gilbert, sending him hurtling to a grim demise. The town whispered of Gilbert's curse. In the following months, darkness consumed Puddlebrook. One by one, the 3 construction workers met their untimely ends, each death shrouded in mystery. Gilbert's curse, it seemed, had unleashed its wrath upon them, becoming an urban legend in the small town. Caution for the...
So Humpty Dumpty was based off this Gilbert's curse story? We're seeing more and more cases, man, like I said, about medias that we've been watching as a kid that's really be based off true stories, but they just, I guess, switch it and turn it into something else. So you lose the, like, original point of the story. Man. Humpty Dumpty, who'd have knew? That's like one of the oldest pieces of media.
The photo that you are about to see. This was captured on the Ring doorbell of Jessica Gerald on a 2014 morning around 3 a.m. It is the only shot that we have of the man who broke into her home. For context, this is a small town right outside of Omaha, Nebraska. Like, bad things don't happen here, or so everyone thought. Unprovoked and completely without motive, the man was seen on camera around 3, and then he uses a glass scoring tool where he very quietly makes a hole in the window and then enters through the living room. So the following morning, Jessica Gerald, she doesn't go into work, so her family is contacted. They go to her home, where she is found without her head or her tongue. Media investigation was launched where the footage was eventually recovered. The man seen here had also posed her body without the head sitting up at her kitchen table.
Eerie case, man.
Let's talk about this couple who cheated on the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and thought they got away with it.
Oh.
You just won $1 million!
This all happened in 2001 when Charles Ingram was a contestant on the show, while his wife Diana and a man named Tequan Whitcock were in the audience helping him cheat the entire time. So how exactly did they notice that Charles was cheating? Well, throughout the entire show, the sound technician noticed a loud coughing coming from the audience at specific times after Charles spoke.
I don't think it's an animal. Megatron. Mega. Yeah. I don't think it's Megatron. I'm sure it's Google.
After reviewing the footage, they noticed that the coffee came specifically from Tequan and Diana whenever Charles mentioned the right answer after the 4 options. They were able to catch a total of 19 coughs, which came from his wife and Tequan, which signaled the correct answers. But not only that, Charles' strategy throughout the game was very odd because he would state the 4 options out loud, and it was clear that he didn't know the answer, but somehow he always got it right. Then what producers found strange strange was that after Charles got every question right and won £1 million, he was seen arguing with his wife backstage. At the time Charles left the set, they began investigating and they did not hand over the money to him. All three of them were found guilty of conspiring to cheat, but till this day they've maintained their innocence, and Tequan still argues that his coughing was because he had allergies and it was all a coincidence. Ultimately, if Charles didn't cheat, he would have only won £1,000 that night.
Man, cheating on the game show, bro. People be taking it to the next level, and they really thought they was gonna get away with that. Like, you literally heard that loud ass call. And that just can't be a coincidence. And he got the right answer. Nah. They literally got caught in 4K. That's insane, man. I wonder how many other people try to cheat on some game shows.
This is the disturbing moment. This woman laughed in court after she took this 3-year-old's life in a random attack. On June 3rd, police received numerous phone calls about a stabbing at a grocery store parking lot in Ohio. At around 3 p.m. on this day, 38-year-old Margot Wood was loading groceries into her car while her 3-year-old son Julian sat in his car seat. That's when 32-year-old Bianca Ellis entered the car and began stabbing the little boy. When Margot noticed, she tried to stop the attacker, and as a result she was also wounded. Julian was then rushed to the hospital where he unfortunately passed away. Now, what's disturbing was that this was a random attack, and after looking at surveillance footage, the attacker was seen following the mother and the child in and out of the grocery store. Then when Bianca was brought into court, the judge began reading out the indictment, and she was seen smiling and laughing the entire time. And after an assessment was done on Bianca, they're arguing that she has bipolar disorder and had a psychotic break, which explains why she did what she did. And this story only gets crazier. Before this incident, Bianca confessed to another murder in Bakersfield, and she even gave details of what she did with this person's body. She also warned officers that if she wasn't arrested, she was going to murder someone and eat their flesh. But none of this was taken too serious, and she was released from the mental institution, and not long after, she committed this heinous crime.
This case
You gotta listen. People have to follow up on their job, man. She's a dangerous individual, and they just let her released from that mental institution. Look what happened. People need to pay more attention, man. That's why in the store, I don't like when people follow me around, bro. You always gotta be vigilant.
is a very sensitive topic regarding Pony the orangutan. In Indonesia, Pony was stolen from her mother as a baby and believed to have been sold on the black market, and she was purchased by where she would be shaved every 2 days, wore perfume and makeup. The owner of this business was a woman, and Pony was chained to a bed where men would come in after paying for a private room with her.
What the?
And they did exactly what you're thinking to her. An animal organization heard about Pony and attempted to save her, but were run off by villagers who didn't want Pony to be taken away from them. But in February 2003, 35 police officers showed up and rescued Pony. She was believed to be between the ages of 6 years old and 7, and due to how the law worked at the time, no one was charged or arrested. Pony has since been kept in an enclosure as she wouldn't be able to survive on her own in the wild. But as of recently, Pony is estimated to be either 23 or 24 years old and is in healthy condition. And this is a picture of her from 2018.
This is why you should always be aware of your surroundings. A woman was walking home one night with her child when this happened. Everything's normal until a man comes out from the darkness. He then proceeds to go to the door and start banging on it, seemingly trying to get inside to the mother and her child. Ali Porath, the mother who was seen in this video, later took to social media to explain that this all happened at around 7 p.m. at night when she was returning home from getting groceries. She explains that she had seen that man before, waiting out alone in front of her house, just watching. But ever since this happened, she hasn't seen him. And that's why it's always important to be aware of your surroundings.
Preach. Got
So this
to.
photo is the reason you shouldn't put your feet up on the dashboard of a car. In 2007, Granny Keeley had an airbag deploy on her at 120 miles an hour. She was sitting passenger with her feet up on the dash, and when the airbag went off, her knees went right into her skull. Obviously, this led to a brain injury. Her 2 front teeth also fell out, but she lived, thankfully. She lived without a forehead for about 2 years until surgeons fitted a ceramic forehead into her skull. She had near constant headaches, and she developed gallstones because of the medication she was on. After they fitted a ceramic plate into her forehead, they injected fat from her stomach into it so it could look more natural. This is her today, so she looks very normal now. And of course, because she's in good spirit, she says her ceramic forehead is designer because it was made in Italy. She also spent a considerable amount of time educating people on why they shouldn't put their feet up on the dashboard. Because if you do, you could end up like this. And you might not be so lucky. So, if you get anything from this video, stop putting your feet up on the dash. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational and entertainment purposes only.
You guys know how many times I had my feet up on the dash when I was just, riding in the car? I'm never doing that again. No more. That's dead after we saw that clip. That's crazy. It's a miracle she survived, too. You never think something like that would happen. That is, put my foot up on the dash. We ain't doing that no more, Seekers. Edit. Call them on like we see it, man. If y'all see edit, tell me down below. I might miss some too.
This is a good reminder to double check every single nook and cranny in your house. Because in 2019, this couple came home after a week-long vacation to see that there was a stranger living in their home. And he had most likely been living there while they were also in the house.
How?
Also, if you like these kinds of stories, you'll like tonight's episode. Upon arriving home after a week away, Josh Campbell tried the front door of his house, but there was a stranger on the inside pulling it closed. That stranger was 26-year-old Ezekiel Zayas, and yes, this is a video he left on their personal computers. The two were able to call the police and eventually get him out of the house, but that's when they saw all of the terrifying stuff he had been up to in the home. He also left them videos on their computers that included incredibly personal information that they had only shared with each other, meaning that he had been listening to their conversations. But the worst part was the knives. Ezekiel had left notes in the house about surgeries that he wanted to perform on the family, like a hand transplant. And when the couple went into their bedroom, they saw that there were knives and other utensils all around the bed. It seemed like he was preparing to do some sort of operation on them. Frogging stories are absolutely terrifying, and I don't want to give too much away, but you might be spooked by tonight's episode.
I cannot be the only one who hasn't heard about the 10-year-old girl that is facing first-degree intentional homicide charges for stomping on a 6-month-old baby boy's head at a daycare center, y'all. What? Oh my god. Leave a like on this video, follow for more true crime, and check this one out.
A 10-year-old Chippewa Falls girl is facing charges of first-degree intentional homicide in the death of a 6-month-old boy on October 30th.
Injuries sustained by the 6-month boy was not an accident.
This heartbroken father says he can't forgive the 10-year-old girl now accused of stomping on his baby's head.
As opposed to seeing it as a 10-year-old girl, I seen it as the person who killed my son. And she, in my opinion, deserved to be in shackles or handcuffs. She's a criminal.
An imprint of her shoe was found on Jackson's head. Jackson fought for his life for 2 days, but succumbed to his injuries.
Now the girl's mother is sharing personal photos and videos.
What's up, guys? Today's my first YouTube video.
Do you think she's been painted as a monster?
Yes, I do.
Is she?
No, she's not. She is beautiful, intelligent, smart, loves to sing, loves to play.
Today in this video, we're gonna be playing hide and seek.
She's been locked up for 9 months.
This
This video shows her getting a ride from her father during a visit at a detention facility. She's smiling, but as Dad puts her down, you can see shackles around her ankles. The girl's family says she suffers from mental illness, and they tried to get her help, but were turned away.
They denied my daughter because she wasn't 12 years old.
She was trying to kill herself.
She had indentations, yes.
And you couldn't get her help.
I could not. They sent her home because apparently I had an age limit.
What do you guys think about that story, man? That's just tragic all around. be getting younger and younger in each of these videos we review together.
This is one of the worst cases in human history. This is the murder of Christine Silawan. She was from the Philippines and was a volunteer in church, and she used the church every day from 4 to 6 p.m. On the day of her murder, she went to church as per her schedule, but she didn't come home after that. Her parents then started to worry, and they began searching for her with their neighbors. And what they found is absolutely horrid. They found her body in a farm where half her face was sliced like a piece of pizza, and her face was literally skinned down to her skull. Also, her brain was completely destroyed by acid. The police then started investigating, and they checked the cameras and found out that she was with a guy. The people started protesting about this case, and the case was then given to special officers. They had a lot of pressure on this. A week before this happened, she broke up with her boyfriend, so the police took him into custody. And he was proving that he was at home all day when she was murdered, but officers were completely tired of this case, and they then sentenced him as the murderer. But after a few months, a thief was caught in a store where he confessed that he murdered and raped Christine. He said he started talking to her on Facebook with a fake account,
Catfish.
and was using fake photos of another guy that was pretty good looking. Christine fell for the guy, and she assumed that he was about 20 years old, and they started texting daily. One day, they both decided to meet up at 6 p.m. near the church she went to. But upon arriving, Christine noticed that this was not the guy she was talking to, and he was around 40-ish years old. She then refused to talk to him and tried to go back, but he held her hands extremely forcefully. He then took her far away from town and raped her repeatedly and put iron rods inside her personal organs. He then cut her face in half and then skinned her whole head down to the skull. And to make it even worse, he put acid inside of her head. The autopsy also revealed that her tongue, trachea, esophagus, parts of her neck, and her right ear were missing. The self-proclaimed killer of this case, named Renato Lanis, said that he used barber-type scissors and stabbed her 30 times on different parts of her body and skinned her face. Christine Silawan was only 16 years old, and this case is extremely haunting.
Damn.
There's a picture of her body that was found in the field, but Google did a really good job of not showing it and hiding it. So even if you do go looking for the picture, I don't think you're going to find it. This is one of those cases that after you get done reading it, you just feel some sort of uneasiness. I feel so bad for Christine's family, and I can't imagine finding my daughter in this state. May Christine Silawan rest in peace.
Bring facts that will ruin your life. Baby chicks, while very sweet, are often grinded up. In many large factories, if they're baby roosters, they're just tossed into a grinder. Pretty gross. Did you know that in the United States alone, every year, around 2,500 people die from using right-handed equipment that were originally left-handed? Sucks to be left-handed. George Bush Sr. was the only man to survive after his plane was shot down in World War II by Japanese soldiers. Out of the 9 men that were cannibalized and eaten on by Japanese soldiers, Bush was somehow the only one to survive. Hopefully you like burgers because Inuit mothers actually suck the snot out of their baby's nose. Nasty. Did you know there's actually 200 corpses right now on Mount Everest? Due to the body's elevation, they're actually left up there and perfectly preserved to the extreme climate and temperatures. They're used as guide points for climbers and hikers. Comment and let me know which fact disturbed you the most.
Basically it's a graveyard, man. That's
This
the
is
best way to
without a
put
doubt
it.
the creepiest mugshot I've ever seen. This is 33-year-old Solomon Galligan. He is an S offender that tried to kidnap a little boy from an elementary school in Colorado. This entire ordeal happened last Friday, and he went up to multiple children. Before police arrived, he tried to grab the young boy and flee, but that was unsuccessful, so he just fled to begin with. He was later caught by police and charged with 1 count of kidnapping. As a result, the elementary school and the surrounding areas are increasing security and police presence. But bro, this mugshot is definitely the creepiest shit I've ever seen. There's not a single feeling of remorse or regret in those eyes. He's now being held on a $25,000 bond. He had a similar incident in 2012 and he failed to register as an offender. Now, luckily, the little boy that he tried to kidnap was unharmed. And this also happened while the kids were at recess. I'm not sure how this happened. I feel like when I was growing up in recess, all of the teachers would be watching us.
Yeah.
But they definitely need to step up security. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Movie bloopers that are better than the actual movie. In The Dark Knight, while Joker sits in a jail cell, he overhears Detective Gordon get promoted to commissioner. Naturally, the rest of his squad applauds him, but then they hear the Joker clapping in the background. The Joker's creepy clap wasn't in the script, but it fit the scene so well they kept it in. In the show Friends, Matthew Perry actually hits his head on a filing cabinet.
Please, just...
Well, this was a total accident, and Jennifer Aniston's reaction was completely genuine. In this scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, Tony Stark leans over to open the door, but Peter Parker hugs him instead. This wasn't in the script, but Tom Holland thought it would be funny, which led to Robert Downey Jr. improvising this line on the spot.
That's not a hug, I'm just grabbing the door for you. We're not.
Classic.
In How the Grinch Stole Christmas, in this scene, everything was supposed to fall off when Jim Carrey pulled the tablecloth. But it didn't go as planned, so he had to improvise. This wasn't in the script, but it was so funny they kept it in.
Records that will never be broken again. Number 1, the woman with the most children. Back in the 1800s, a Russian woman named Vasiliev gave birth to 69 total children. She had 16 pairs of twins, 7 triplets, and 4 quadruplets. And no one has come close to matching that number since. Number 2, the most nuclear explosions ever survived. This is Tsutomu Namaguchi. He has survived 2 different nuclear explosions. Tsutomu was on a business trip when the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. After miraculously surviving that explosion, he returned to his hometown of Nagasaki just in time to witness the second atomic bombing. But again, he miraculously survived and lived till the age of 93.
That's rough.
Horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. One of your photos that you have today will be used in your funeral. There are more slaves today than any other time in history. According to the founder of the Walk Free Foundation, there are 46 million slaves in the world today. Your eyes can still move after your death for 15 to 30 seconds. Watching TV for more than 2 hours a day can shorten your life expectancy by 1.4 years. In 1977, we received a radio signal from space that lasted 42 seconds. To this day, no one knows where that signal came from. A lit candle causes more than 15,000 house fires every year. Spider rain could happen at any moment above you. Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in the 2017 version of It, was born in 1990, the year the original It was released. Yeah.
Those are some creepy coincidences, man. Spider rain? I've never heard of something like that before, but I definitely don't want to experience that, man. Imagine you just walking outside, normal day, just see a whole bunch of freaking spiders coming down. You like, what in the world is this world coming to, man? How does something like that even happen?
If you see him while you're awake, run. So this story actually comes from a Reddit user who's a therapist. And this user had a patient who was coming in complaining of seeing Hatman at night. This patient would apparently wake up in the middle of the night to see Hatman standing at the foot of their bed, watching them sleep. And as a result, they were not really sleeping much. So the therapist prescribed some pretty heavy sleeping medication, and as a result, the patient starts getting a little better. But then one day, the patient comes in and just looks like they had seen a ghost. So the therapist asked them what was wrong, and they said that as they were getting in the car to come to therapy, they saw Hatman standing across the street during the day. This therapist had only ever heard of Hatman when it came to patients waking up in the middle of the night and seeing him, never when they were already awake doing things in the middle of the day. So the patient is terrified, but the therapist thinks this might be a side effect of the medication. It takes a little while to get used to. But that was the last time the patient ever came to see the therapist.
Man, is he real? Cap.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. Part 2. The Hoya Baciu Forest is considered the most haunted forest in all of Romania. Hundreds of people have gone missing within these woods, among other things like screams, laughter, babies crying, people being attacked by unseen paranormal forces, strange balls of light, UFOs, and
and in the very center of the forest lies a clearing where no plant life will grow. It is believed that this spot is a portal to another dimension. What do you think? Like and follow for more.
Okay, that one, the most haunted freaking forest of Romania, man, where all those plants not growing and how they said it can be ported there. I definitely want to check up on that one because that sounds interesting, man. Like, no plants are going in that whole open area. That space is just like a freaking, looked like a crop circle. What do you guys think? Is that a dimension to another
incident has
reality?
made people on the internet so upset because this woman went up to a teen and pulled down her skirt because she thought it was too short. Even if you think this skirt is too short, I think we can all agree that you cannot go up to a child and touch them. The teen said that this woman approached her from behind and basically put her hand in her area. This woman, who's a 49-year-old Ida Lorenzo, said to the girl and her friends, "I happen to work for the state, and if I have to see your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS."
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
Now, let's be real for a second. If this was a man who did this to a young girl, police would be called immediately and there would be no excuses. They were waiting at a restaurant to be seated and she basically felt like it was inappropriate for this young girl to be dressed like this in front of everyone. Which, if you feel that way, then you can leave. You should never be putting your hands on anyone. She was eventually charged with sexual battery, which I'm glad because you can't be putting your hands on anyone, especially kids.
She said it perfectly. The words needed on that clip. Everything to a T.
Here are 5 regular things that are illegal in North Korea. Number 1, wearing jeans. In North Korea, wearing jeans is a symbol of their enemy America. Number 2, turning off the radio. All houses come with a government-installed radio that makes announcements through the day. Number 3, practicing religion. Reading a Bible can get you publicly executed. Number 4, watching foreign films. Watching foreign films can get you executed or sent to a labor camp. And number 5, listening to foreign music. All music has to be Kim Jong-un approved.
You were taught that you probably
Never
still
gone to
believe.
North Korea.
Number 1, that cracking your knuckles will cause arthritis. While cracking your knuckles might sound and look damaging, it does not cause arthritis. That loud pop that you hear when you crack your knuckles is caused by bubbles bursting in your synovial fluid, and the bubbles pop when you pull the bones apart. Blood in your veins is blue. If you look down at your arm, you can probably see your veins and see they look blue. However, your blood is not actually blue in your veins. Blood is either red or dark red, but never blue. Your veins look blue because of your skin. Blue light does not penetrate human tissue as deeply as red light does, and as a result, veins that are close to the surface of the skin will be more likely to reflect blue light back to your eyes. You can hear the sound of the ocean in shells. This is a myth. The sound you hear when you put a shell against your ear has nothing to do with it being from the ocean. It's actually part of the background noise around you, just turned up a little bit by the shell. So if you're next to the ocean, the shell picks up the sound of the ocean, the alpha wolf. There's actually no such thing as an alpha wolf. This idea was brought about in a paper from the 1970s, but the author later said in a paper that he rejected the idea of an alpha wolf. While it's true that multiple wolves who share a small space in captivity will develop alpha and beta-like hierarchies, wild wolves behave nothing like this. In the wild, a wolf pack is typically formed by monogamous parents and their puppies, and the wolf pack is basically a tightly knit family consisting of parents or breeders and their offspring, not an alpha and beta.
We need to talk about...
Hey man, those facts, those will blow my freaking reality wide open, man. I've always when you used to put a shell up to your ear, they always used to say that like you were here in the ocean. That's another piece about your hood. Gone. And I remember seeing freaking blue veins, yeah. I remember when I was a kid sometimes I'd see blue. I'm like, is our blood blue? I said, how come when we bleed it's never blue? So I learned that very early on, man, but we're learning out here today. I like that.
Sex tourism. So if you don't understand what this is the practice of elderly men and women from America or other countries traveling to more undeveloped countries where the ages of consent are much lower, and then purchasing children to do things with. These are just some of the men who have been caught on camera doing these things. And this opens up a disturbing thought. I mean, you think you know somebody, but what are they doing in these foreign countries? Because laws were passed in the 2000s that outlawed this practice, meaning that if you committed an act with a child in a foreign country, the United States government can still prosecute you. But there was a great documentary made by Chris Hansen where they followed a wealthy American doctor over, I think it was in the Philippines, one of those countries, and caught him in the act of purchasing a child. And then they followed him back to the United States where he had a full family, he ran a successful practice, and he was then turned over to the authorities. But all you have to do is look at this and the low ages of consent in so many different countries. And just recently, a North Dakota lawmaker was caught doing this in the Czech Republic. So how many children have to be hurt before more action is taken against this whole thing? Every single year, the statistics show that over 1 million children are abused as a part of this system. 1 million children. Imagine a group of 1 million children, all of their lives completely changed forever, every single year, every year. And these sick bastards get away with it time and time again. Now, I don't know what I can necessarily do to stop this from happening, but I can inform people and try to get these videos out because this is incredibly disturbing stuff. And I'm going to talk more about this guy in my next TikTok.
Curtain number 1.
Trying to find a loophole. Disgusting.
Wait. You don't remember what she looks like?
How rare is your body? Let's find out. About 75% of people have a deviated septum, and this is a condition in which the bone and cartilage that divide the nose in half are crooked, making one nasal passage smaller than the other, and it's known to cause nosebleeds, problems breathing, or loud breathing when you're sleeping. Less than 1% of people have an extra finger crease, and it's also called camptodactyly, and it's just when you have an extra little ridge on your fingers, and it is most common on your pinky.
Ooh.
Less than 1% of people have an eyeball scar. This is also called a macular pucker, and it's just scar tissue that forms in your eye. And it's known to cause blurred or distorted vision. And it's caused when the vitreous, which is the gel-like part of your eye, starts to pull away from the retina. Less than 1% of people can hear colors or see sounds. For example, this could happen as soon as someone hears a sound, they automatically see the color red, or as soon as they read a word, a certain color pops into their mind. About 33% of people experience motion sickness, and this 33% are highly susceptible to motion sickness, while the rest just experience it in extreme conditions. And it's caused when your brain starts to get signals from your body that it's moving, but they're mismatched and don't match up.
Here's some Disney Channel stars that went to...
Do you have any of those? Or is any of the Seeker's bodies weird, man? Does they have that extra, we said, I guess cartilage on your pinky or eyeball scars? I didn't even know an eyeball could get a scar.
to jail, but each time the crime gets worse. Starting off, Mitchell Musso, who played Oliver Oken in Hannah Montana, was pulled over in 2011 for driving under the influence. He was only 20 at the time and was arrested and released on bail. Because of this, his character was written out of Pair of Kings and his show Prank Stars was canceled. Next up, Adam Hicks, who played Luther on Zeke and Luther and had a starring role in Lemonade Mouth, was arrested a couple times, but most recently for an armed robbery with his girlfriend. His sentencing was delayed multiple times due to mental health evaluations and was eventually given a 5-year sentence. But he's now currently on parole and making music on TikTok. Moving on, Lindsay Lohan was Disney's golden child in the early 2000s, starring in iconic movies such as The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Mean Girls, before getting into trouble with the law. She's been arrested for driving under the influence, drug possession, violating her probation, a theft charge, and has even had a bench warrant out for her arrest. And finally, Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, was arrested and charged for vehicle manslaughter after killing a 21-year-old girl while drunk driving. When they tested his blood alcohol, it was 3 times the legal limit. He was originally given a 5-year sentence, 2 years of probation, and 350 hours of community service, but ended up only serving 1 year due to his work with prison-based theater groups that performed in jails, churches, and schools to highlight the consequences of drug abuse.
After breaking up in the 50s, these 2 high school sweethearts are now newlyweds at 82 and 85. Eddie and Caroline dated for years in high school, and they spent so much time together that Caroline was known as Eddie's girl around their Nashville town. And when Eddie graduated a few years before Caroline, she had hoped for his class ring as a sign of commitment, but Eddie wasn't ready. And he was about to leave their hometown for the ROTC program at the University of Tennessee when he dropped her off at her house one evening in 1959 without giving her a class ring and with no mention of the future. Caroline knew that their relationship was over. She says that she recalls running into her house and crying for that entire night. And then the two went on to live completely separate lives, including Caroline winning Miss Nashville the same year that Eddie left. In 1961, they both married other people and shortly thereafter had children and raised families. Eddie spent 21 years as a pilot in the Air Force, and Caroline became an interior designer and an author. But in 2001, Caroline lost her husband, and in 2021, Eddie lost his wife. A year later, in 2022, Eddie felt compelled to reach out to Caroline, and he says he called 9 times before she answered, but when she did, the spark was still there. With 6 decades of catching up to do, they met back up in Nashville, and just 3 months later, Eddie asked her to marry him. He wanted to get her a traditional engagement ring, but she said that all she wanted was his high school class ring, just like all those years ago. Now, as newlyweds in their 80s, they say that they feel just like kids again. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
It's true love. Really, works through. They found each other, man, after all that time. Can you even imagine that, living separate lives? You come back and marry your first love. That's a great story. We need something positive every day.
Mason TV was able to trick Spotify into sending him Harry Styles' 1 billion streams plaque, so he decided to put it to good use. He created a TikTok account with the username SecretSue94, later changed to Sue Manella, playing on Harry Styles' nickname Sue, known within his fandom. He created multiple vines Harry made in 2013, adding subtle clues like a drawn-on cross tattoo to make it seem more authentic, and even getting pink carpet for his stairs to match Harry's stairs. He developed a multiverse of fake TikTok accounts for Harry's friends to lend credibility to the main account. He went to great lengths, including dressing up as Harry, painting his nails, and having fake paparazzi photos taken to show Harry with a Spotify plaque and using TikTok on his phone, which helped him spread the belief in the account. Overnight, fans all over social media and even major media outlets were speculating about its authenticity. Millions of people talking about the account led it to going viral and amassing over 600,000 followers.
This man left his 2-year-old toddler in a hot car while he went to go play video games. Not only is this case super disturbing because of what he was doing while his 2-year-old daughter was strapped in this hot boiling car, but apparently he's done this so many times before. It all happened on July 9th when 37-year-old Christopher Schultz arrived home at 12:50 and his daughter was strapped into her car seat and she was sleeping, so he decided to leave her in there because he did not want to wake her up, and he had left the AC on as well. Christopher's wife Erica arrived home at 4 p.m. from work and she found their 2-year-old daughter still strapped in the car. At this point, this poor little girl was already gone, and when paramedics arrived, there was nothing they could really do. Now, while Christopher claimed that the AC was on, it turns out that it actually turned off only 30 minutes after he left to go inside. This means that she was left in this 180-degree boiling car for about 2.5 hours. At first, Christopher lied and said that he had left her in there for about 30 to 45 minutes and had checked up on her multiple times, but after they investigated and saw home surveillance footage of a neighbor, they noticed that she was actually in there for about 3 hours.
How long was she sleeping in the car out there? I want to say it was no more than 30-45 minutes. And I don't think their air was off that entire time. I think there was a time in between. I had checked on her last. It was still running. She was still sleeping. And then when I went back out, the car was off.
Like I said, he's done this so many times before, according to his other daughters. And his wife also sent him a text message saying, "I told you to stop leaving them in the car. How many times have I told you?" But what I also found so weird is that his wife also sided with him, and she got really upset when police arrested Christopher. I don't understand how she has any type of sympathy for this man who just took your baby's life because he was playing video games. He was warned multiple times about this, so there is no excuse. Christopher was originally charged with 2nd-degree M, but then it was changed to 1st-degree, and he pleaded not guilty. If he gets convicted, he does face life in prison.
This pedophile senator
for some video
North Dakota
games.
is one of the most disturbed people I've ever researched. This is all coming out right now in the news, so let's talk about it. Ray Holmberg was born in 1944, and he was first elected to the North Dakota Senate as a Republican in 1976. He ended up serving as a senator for decades, and he became one of the longest-serving senators in United States history. But behind the scenes, Ray was carrying out the most demonic activities you can imagine. The first allegations against him came out in 2020, when a man named Canton Todd came out and said that Ray had sexually assaulted him in 2010. You can read some of his tweet there. Canton provided evidence of where he was assaulted, and investigators were actually able to show that that apartment was indeed owned by the senator. And they were also able to confirm that the senator was seen with that guy around the same time. But nothing ever came out of this. Then in 2022, a huge scandal erupted. It turns out Ray Holmberg had shared 72 text messages with a child predator inside of prison. So this guy was sentenced for CP production and distribution. And while he was in prison, Ray Holmberg texted him 72 times. Now obviously people were asking, what were these texts about? Well, some of the texts that were eventually recovered showed Holmberg asking this convicted predator if he could meet up with his 19 to 20-year-old boyfriend to give him a massage. Holmberg has claimed in the news that these text messages were just about some lawn care, that this pedophile just happened to be redoing his lawn and that's what he was texting him about. And when he was pressed by members of the press, he stated the messages were just simply gone. I don't understand this. In most cases, the police can immediately go back and retrieve any text messages from criminals, so why haven't they done this yet with this guy? But this only gets significantly worse. Just 2 days ago, Ray Holmberg pled guilty to child sex tourism. If you're confused on what that means, this means that Ray, while he was a United States Senator, was traveling overseas to engage in acts with minors. Prosecutors in the case alleged that he traveled 14 times to Prague in the Czech Republic between the years 2011 and 2021 to pay to engage in acts with minors. And even more disturbingly, a number of these trips were state trips. So that means that the United States government was paying for him to go over to the Czech Republic. And he was there on an official capacity. So he definitely did this, and when this all came out, it brought up the history of CP charges that were also leveled at him in the past. That's right, they also discovered that between 2012 and 2013, Ray, who was a United States Senator at the time, was using the alias Sean Evans online to, quote, convince a child to send him schmexually explicit images. AKA, this freak was pretending to be a child online to receive CP from a child. So with all of this, the sexual assault, the traveling to a country to engage in acts with minors, the CP, all of that, you would imagine this guy would go away for a long time, right? These are serious, terrible charges. Well, no. Because he pled guilty, he's going to get a sweetheart deal. That means that the Department of Justice dropped the CP charges against him, and the judge is believed to, quote, recommend the low end of the sentencing guideline range. His lawyers have said they expect him to get 3 to 4 years in prison. So for molesting multiple young boys, for convincing a child to send him graphic material, for sexually assaulting a man, for being in contact with a child predator who probably sent him other stuff that got deleted, this guy is going to get 3 to 4 years in prison. Gotta love American justice, right? If you want to join me on my journey to expose pedophiles and creeps like this, listen to my new podcast, The Conspiracy Files. You can either watch it on YouTube or you can listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And in a few weeks, we're going to be doing an episode about pedophile members of Congress and the Senate, and it's really, really disturbing stuff. This guy's definitely going in there.
Half of all elder millennials wish they had chosen a different career path. The majority said they felt pressure to pursue 4-year degrees with mountains of debt and now earn too little in their jobs to keep up. Here's the scariest part about all of this. Gen Z has the lowest average student loan debt of $14,000. Millennials are the next highest with $33,000 on average. Gen Xers have even more student loan debt on average with $43,000. And finally, baby boomers actually carry the highest average student loan debt. Your student loan debt actually goes up as you get older. Top that off with the unemployment rate going back up, and more than 1 million people became unemployed last month. Here is a solution that could double your income.
The average tech salary is $100,000 to $300,000. You can learn any tech profession in 6 to 9 months with Triple 10. Triple 10 offers beginner-friendly boot camps with tons of different careers, and 87% of students get great jobs at companies like Amazon and Tesla. Triple 10 will even give your money back if you don't get a job within 6 months of graduating. Link in my bio to take their free consultation to find out what career would be best for you. There is an
Who going to Triple 10, man? Get that tech money, bro. It's actually interesting, man, to see the generations of seeing how much money people owe in college, man. If you don't know what you're going to college for, I just say figure it out before you go so you don't get all that debt piled up.
Eerie ghost town in America that is too dangerous for humans because it's been on fire for over 60 years. The roads leading to it were even covered in dirt to keep people out. But despite this, the town of Centralia still has a population of 4. You see, back in its day, it was a booming coal mining town with thousands living there. But when a fire accidentally spread to the mines underground and became too large to extinguish, houses started collapsing, roads began to crack and buckle, dangerous gases started rising into the air, and a 12-year-old child even got sucked into a 150-foot sinkhole. It became so dangerous that the state of Pennsylvania stepped in and offered to buy people's properties off of them so they could leave the town. And because coal seam fires have a massive amount of fuel, it's believed that the fire will continue to burn for another 200 years. But despite the town's zip code being erased off the map, roads to it being blocked off with mounds of dirt, and even a court order saying that any residents that remain would not be allowed to sell or pass down their homes to anyone. According to a 2020 census, 4 people still remain.
5 things you can do with your body.
Who in the hell is living in a town that's always on fire? Why didn't they just abandon it with everybody else? I guess that their family home is really important to them, man. You know, some people, like, they just refuse to move. I think I seen a clip on Twitter or something like that where, like, this freaking house, they had built, like, a whole, like, I guess new, like, roads and stuff like that, but they had to freaking build around the house because the owner refused to sell, man.
That you only just realized. You can only swallow 2 to 3 times before your body forces you to wait to try again. And you can't with your nose plugged. You can actually tickle yourself by rubbing your tongue on the roof of your mouth. And your forearm is about the same size as your foot. And if you say, your breath comes out warm. But when you say, your breath comes out cold. In celebrities' houses, before and after their fame. Eminem, or Marshall Mathers, was born and raised in Missouri. This is the house his family settled in when he was 11 years old. And then after his rise to fame, this is now his house. And this is the house where Jennifer Lopez grew up. Her parents were born in Puerto Rico and moved to the USA, and this is the house in New York that they bought. And then after her rise to fame, this is now one of her mansions. This is where Kanye West grew up in Chicago. But then at the age of 10, he moved to China to live with his mother. Then after his rise to fame, this is one of his incredible mansions. And Justin Bieber grew up in this house on low-income housing in Stratford, Ontario, the United States. And after his mega successful career, this is one of his craziest mansions.
Seen it glow up on each and every single one of them, man. They said, I'm through with the house. We in the mansions now. It's insane. Especially the Justin Bieber one. I can't even
Top
imagine.
3 terrifying animals that existed and you didn't know about. Number 3, the Titanoboa. This prehistoric snake, living approximately 60 million years ago, ranks among the most terrifying creatures known. Reaching lengths of 39 to 49 feet and weighing up to 2,500 pounds, it dominated ecosystems, particularly in South America. Number 2, the Pulmonoscorpius, an ancient scorpion from the Carboniferous period, about 330 million years ago. Measuring up to 2.3 feet long, it surpassed the size of any present-day scorpion. Its formidable appearance likely made it a fearsome predator in its time. Number 1, the Gigantopithecus. As the largest primate to have ever lived, this colossal hominid existed around 100,000 years ago. Standing up to 9.8 feet tall and weighing up to 1,322 pounds, it was an imposing figure, although likely a peaceful herbivore. Factors like climate change and competition with humans contributed to its eventual extinction.
Normal-looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. This is former NBA player Mark Jackson's basketball card. In the background are the Menendez brothers. They're sitting courtside shortly after killing their parents and just before getting arrested. The 17-year-old who took this photo told his family members that he planned to hike the stairway to heaven. He texted multiple pictures before his disappearance, and shortly after, the family noticed a man in this photo. While this photo may seem like an ordinary picture of footprints in the sand, they actually belong to a 4-year-old little girl who shortly after this photo was taken, drowned in the ocean. The two brothers in this photo are at Sequoia National Park. This photo was taken moments before they were both struck by lightning, and both shockingly survived. There was a tradition in Victorian England to take photos of dead people, often dressed in their best clothes, and pose as if they were taking a family portrait. If you look at this photo for long enough, you will notice something is a little off about one of the children. The man who took this photo of his wife scuba diving off the Australian coast also managed to take a photo of Tina Watson, who was drowned by her husband that day in 2003.
These are the scariest
Terrifying backstories, man.
Of war. Ghost Tape 10 was an audio tape played by the US Army during the Vietnam War. They would play it from helicopters and boats. Its aim was to scare the enemy Viet Cong who were hiding in the jungle.
Playing mind games on him.
The A-10 Thunderbolt II is one of the most feared planes owned by the US military. It is better known as the Warthog because of the scary sound it makes.
Is it like breaking that sound barrier?
The Warthog can actually open the sound barrier. The atomic bomb is one of the most powerful bombs ever made.
We know that from history. There's no explanation needed there. Could you imagine, man, you in the force, you hearing those sounds? Like I said, they're just playing freaking, I guess, psychological or mind games on I guess, enemy soldiers. You'd be paranoid, man, especially in the jungle too. Oof. What's he got?
Hot take, you're not gonna apologize for it. 1v1, a Wolverine would whoop a honey badger as that streets made this aggressive bull cut the face of Black Air Force energy. Full time the Wolverine's the CEO of Cell Block D tendencies. First of all, they're more than capable of hunting for themselves, but some dudes can't be bothered to get their own bread. Instead, they gotta steal from the baker. And by baker, I mean they'll tax animals like wolves, cougars, even bears. Let me remind you here about the size of a medium dog, yet the crackhead courage can have an overgrown canyon cat backpedaling. And you thought honey badgers were on timing. And they are, but Wolverines, where else are you gonna find a war weasel 2v1ing a pair of wolves? But
2v1, bro.
They can hunt, and they are very good at it. They've been known to murk moose by either going after one that's already injured or one stuck in the snow, since felony ferret's like a psychopath with snowshoes. And they'll track you down and run your fade like John Wick. This reindeer was injured and likely bleeding, so the travel-sized bear followed it and delivered smoke directly to the face like a cigarette. They've also been known to eat porcupines, or at least die trying. And you can even find a story of a Wolverine packing up a polar bear. Yeah, it was at a zoo, but that's still a fat W. Wolverines have this really bad habit of whenever they find something that doesn't belong to them, they'll immediately soak it with the smell of death, strong enough to make you cry fresh from its brown eye. A smell so offensive they've been nicknamed Skunk Bear. There have been stories of them breaking into cabins, blowing up the place like a truck stop bathroom, and walking out with like a sock or something. Almost forgot, this walking garbage disposal has rotated molars in the back of its mouth, meaning they can chew through solid bone and frozen meat. I'm sorry, but a motivated skunk monkey is absolutely folding an Oreo-coated temper tantrum, but that's just me.
Perplexing plot twists, part 1. In 2008, an Australian couple named Julian and Carolyn were kidnapped by a satanic cult. Members of the cult threw them in a van and drove them deep into the forest where they were stripped, blindfolded, tied up, and abandoned. Convinced that they would die, Julian suggested that the couple get married under the eyes of God and consummate their relationship. After a week of wandering through the woods, the couple finally made it back to their hometown. Julian was immediately arrested, found guilty of staging the entire thing.
What? He staged that entire thing for this girl. Not in the woods for a week, man. For him to be the mastermind? That's insane, bro.
Worst rated foods in the world. Jellied eels is a food from England, which consists of boiled eels, with salt, pepper, and vinegar added to them. Rating 2.2. Chapalele is a food from Chile. It's a bread made from potatoes and flour. It doesn't sound bad, but many don't like the texture or taste. Rating 2.1. Yerushalmi kugel is a food from Israel. It might look like a cake, but it's actually a casserole, made from noodles, eggs, and peppers. Some like it, while others despise it. Rating 2. Ramen burger is an American food. It's basically a hamburger, but with ramen noodles instead of buns, leading to a very soggy texture and kind of a weird taste. Rating 1.9. Al Qaeda is a food from Iceland. It's made from shark flesh, which is then fermented for up to 3 months, and then left to dry for 5 more months. This creates a very strong taste which makes many people gag. It's normally served in really small quantities because it's so strong. Rating 1.5. Kalvsylta is a food from Sweden. It's a mix of jellied veal, onions, and spices, and is eaten cold. Rating 1.4. Blodpult is a food from Finland. It's basically a dumpling made from flour and reindeer blood. Rudolph better stay away from Finland. Some say blodpult has a similar taste to a ball of bacon, while others say the taste is absolutely awful. Rating 1. Tell me in the comments what your least favorite food is.
What if the purge was...
I ain't gonna lie, I think it would have to be the blood bowl. You see different foods, different cultures. They either got 1 or 2. I thought the ramen burger was kind of gonna be up there, but that one failed too. I didn't even know there was such a thing as that. I'm gonna have to try that. Find out for myself. Seekers, what are you guys' least favorite food?
Real. A new political party is voted into office in the U.S. The new party amends the Constitution to allow 1 day every year where all crime is legal. Most Americans bunker down in their homes, but a group of murdering psychopaths patrol the streets, and this actually prevents riots, but the majority of the murders actually happen between angry family members. Financial crimes are rampant, and the stock market crashes every single year the day before the purge.
These are the safest countries to go if World War III was to start. And considering the news at the moment, you might want to sit down, shut up, and listen! So favorite this video, just in case you ever need it. I hope we never do. Now, there are countries all around the world, but let's start with Argentina. Now, if this was to all break out, it's likely that the world would look similar to Terminator 2 Judgment Day at the end. It's likely that all the smoke from all of these will block out the sun, this resulting very quickly in famine and crop failure. But don't panic, because we have Argentina. In Argentina, there are an abundance of resistant crops, such as wheat. This is one of the places on Earth that actually has a chance of surviving World War III. Next up, we have one of the big ones, Switzerland. Now, aside from the fact that it is incredibly neutral when it comes to politics, it has a landlocked geography and mountainous terrain, as well as being one of the countries with an insane amount of underground bunkers. Actually, there's 26,000 of them, which are actually all very hidden, which will mean you will be very safe. As well, just in case there is an invasion, Switzerland literally has booby traps everywhere. It's actually kind of insane and awesome. Next up, we have one of the big ones, Antarctica. Now, barely anyone thinks about going there, which is why it's pretty safe. However, as you can tell, it's a bit fucking cold. So bring a coat.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Greenland. Now, it was in this movie, and they all survived. But on top of that, it's remote, mountainous, and politically neutral, making it kind of an ideal refuge point. And on top of that, worst case scenario, you're not too far away from the global seed vaults, which, you know, has a lot of seeds in it for planting, and thus food and survival. There are literally so many more countries on this list. So if you'd like me to go through more countries in a part 2, let me know. And hopefully we'll never need this video. But just in case we do send this to a friend, it could save their life one day. Elon!
Yeah, like I said, hopefully we don't need that. I'm definitely gonna if we can write some of those countries down though. I can't believe you said Switzerland, bro. Have all those bunkers. You would think the US would have some bunkers like that too.
Trying to take over the world in today's time would go absolutely horrible. Now, trying to take over the world 1,000 years ago probably wasn't very hard. You know, you put me in a world 1,000 years ago, I could easily take over the world. Now, obviously, they weren't thinking about that. They were thinking about when they're going to get their next meal and when they're not going to die of frostbite by the age of 19.
Yep.
This taking over the world concept that we see in movies and TV shows, animes, cartoons, whatever you want to say, in fiction, just to say fiction, it isn't realistic at all. I mean, no shit. Yeah, did you know that, like, it's not possible to take over the world? Woo! Will plays us are really making us feel enlightened over here. But trying to take over the world nowadays would go horrible, like I said. 1, because guns exist. 2, because we're already unified. And 3, because guns exist. I guess if you wanted to take over the world, I guess you could probably try to convince a bunch of hillbillies and drug addicts that you're the Messiah. I would start there.
I don't think that would end well.
This clown animatronic changed the landscape of the Halloween industry when it released. This is the creepy towering clown from Spirit Halloween 2017, and his history is kind of interesting.
First, because I know you guys love it so much, let's start with his official backstory. Grimsley the Great was a troubled man, an infamously tall clown who was part of a traveling carny family. Every night before a performance, Grimsley would stand before his dressing room mirror and manically paint on his deceivingly joyous features. But it took hundreds of attempts before he was satisfied. He'd wipe his face clean and start over in a fit of rage, often gnashing his pale white face with his dagger-like fingernails. Some say you could hear his blood-curdling screams for miles away from his dressing room, and his sinister soul was hiding a dark secret, a plan to collect and transform innocent bystanders into human oddities for show business. That was just a quick retelling of his official story, and it's one of the better ones, I'd say. Grimsley is made by a company called Seasonal Visions International, and he was the first bent-legged towering prop that they'd ever released. This looming, bent-legged pose eventually found its way onto several other characters. It was really popular at the time. They don't make them that much anymore, but some would say that's for the better, as these animatronics dominated SVI in the late 2010s. Before he came to Spirit, Grimsley became available in the UK in early 2017 on a website called Mad About Horror, which I still don't fully understand considering that he was meant to be a Spirit exclusive, but regardless, this was one of the few Spirit exclusives that was available in the UK for a brief period of time. But most notably, this animatronic is what started what I'm gonna call the clowndemic. Grimsley's release coincided with a cultural phenomenon at the time that helped propel him into one of Spirit Halloween's most successful props. And that was It 2017. I don't know if I can really illustrate just how fucking popular this movie was when it released, but if you were there on the internet in 2017, you would know. Before 2017, clown animatronics weren't even that popular. They weren't even that frequent, which is insane to think about, because after 2017, clowns were everywhere. Nearly every clown animatronic after Grimsley became insanely popular. Many of them actually ended up overshadowing Grimsley completely, like Pugs the Clown, Crouchy, 2020 Charlie, and some others. Grimsley doesn't even get talked about that much anymore. Something else that's interesting, this was one of the first SVI animatronics that suffered from very severe facial deformities. Not quite to the extent of Heckles from last year, but it was bad. In 2018, though, they fixed this, and to this day, the 2018 model is the best version of this prop, and that's also the version that I have. Also, he has his own costume, so take that as you will. Shockingly enough, this prop retailed for only $200 in 2017. I know some will say that that's still a lot, but this thing is 7 feet tall. He's huge. If he released today, I'd bet money that he would be $300 to $350, no doubt about it. Even back in the day, $200 was crazy reasonable, considering some of the other animatronics that were priced the same. In my opinion, he was absolutely worth the money, and I think he deserves to be talked about a little more.
Tall ass clown. I don't do clowns though. Imagine seeing that walking by. Little kid gonna be scared as hell. That's different costumes, or just that costume that comes with it. I'm about to say, was he said that clown was responsible for the clown phenomenon? That was all over YouTube, all over the internet. I remember those days. People were pranking
Did you know
people.
these facts about food? The largest meal ever consumed was when a woman ate 19 pounds of food in about 4 hours. She did end up passing away after this. A Serbian vodka comes with 13 health warnings, including one in Braille, due to its 88% alcohol content. In 2022, 2 Californians filed a class action lawsuit against Barilla Pasta because they thought it was made in Italy. How ripe your cranberries are, drop them on the ground. Cranberries are nature's bouncy ball. Even farmers use this technique to see if their cranberries are ready for shipment. Mountain Dew contains orange juice. Although it tastes like a lemon lime soda, orange juice is third on the list of ingredients, just behind carbonated water and high fructose corn syrup. Humans' DNA is 60% the same as bananas. Our genes are comprised of 3 billion building blocks, which are surprisingly ununique. From this, 60% of our genes are identical to that of the banana. However, the other 40% is different enough to make us who we are. There's a small difference between jelly and jam. Jam is made with fruit, which is why it's so much more chunky. Jelly is made with fruit juice. This is an easy way to tell the difference between jelly and jam. Jelly will spread evenly, while jam will tend to be a little lumpy. A ridiculous amount of Nutella is sold every year, so much so that it could cover the Great Wall of China 8 times. You could circle the world almost 2 whole times, and the amount weighs the same as the entire Empire State Building. Sound can influence the taste of your food. High frequency sounds are to enhance the sweetness in food, while low frequencies bring out the bitterness. Pound cake got its name from its recipe. The early recipes of pound cake called for 1 pound of butter, 1 pound of eggs, and 1 pound of sugar. Most supermarket wasabi is actually horseradish. Real wasabi is challenging to make and expensive. As an alternative, most wasabi for sale is colored horseradish with flavoring. Farmed salmon is dyed pink. Wild salmon is naturally pink because of all of the shrimp they eat. Farm-raised salmon have a different diet and end
Eating fake salmon out
However,
here?
they are fed specific plant pigments to get the same hue as wild salmon. Crackers are worse for your teeth than sugar. Acid is the biggest cause of tooth decay, and crackers tend to stick to your teeth, which ends up being a breeding ground for bacteria. You can find peanuts in dynamite. Peanuts have an oil that is used as an ingredient while making glycerol, which is a main component of nitroglycerin. French fries originated in Belgium, not France. They are only called French fries because they are French cut. Twinkie cream is not cream at all. It is actually vegetable shortening. Strawberries are not berries. Technically, berries only have seeds on the inside, a rule which is obviously broken by strawberries. Margarita pizza is named after a queen. When King Umberto I and Queen Margarita visited Naples, they wanted a change from their fancy food and asked for pizza, which was food for the poor back then. The queen loved the mozzarella pizza so much that it ended up being named after her. Thomas Jefferson actually made pasta popular in the United States. He is responsible for bringing the first macaroni machine over to the United States after spending time in France. He was also the one who introduced mac and cheese to Americans. Cauliflower comes in multiple colors. Although we typically only see the white cauliflower, it actually has purple, orange, green varieties. Orange and purple cauliflowers have higher antioxidants. Lima beans are deadly. Raw lima beans have lethal amounts of cyanide in them, but if you cook them thoroughly, you'll be just fine. Sweet drinks can cause dementia. It's not quite as drastic as it originally sounds. However, studies have shown that people who drink 1 or more artificially sweetened drinks per day were almost 3 times more likely to develop dementia. Coffee is the main source of antioxidants for Americans. Antioxidants help fight aging and heart disease, but coffee doesn't really have that many of them. We just drink a lot of it, so we kind of get enough. An expensive delicacy of China is bird's nest soup, which is made from rare bird's nests created from the saliva of small swiftlets. They've been used in China for over 4 centuries. Food is allowed to contain some amount of insects. By FDA standards, there is an allowance for the level of traces of bugs that could be in your food. Chocolate can have no more than 60 insect fragments per 100 grams. Peanut butter can't have more than 30 insects per 100 grams. So theoretically, insects can be in them as long as it's under that. Tonic water.
That's insane.
Quinine is the component of tonic water, which is what causes the glow. Sheep brains are a delicacy in Turkey, China, and India. Brains are a natural filling for ravioli, cheese, scrambled eggs, and other textured dishes. Rocky Mountain oysters are deep-fried bull testicles, a favorite among cowboys, often served at rodeo events across the United States.
Yeah, I know what we do. Let's seek the truth.
Animal Attacks, Part 7, the dude who was attacked by a swarm of raging bees. 23-year-old Alex Bechler and a friend were on a hike in Usery Mountain Park in Arizona when suddenly, without provoke, a swarm of bees suddenly attacked them. The aggressive swarm of bees stung Alex more than 1,000 times. His friend was able to flee and hide in a nearby bathroom. Several people tried to help Alex as he lay on the ground swarmed with these bees, but every time the bees would drive the people away. A sheriff finally used a UTV to get close enough to him, and still covered in bees, he grabbed Alex and fled with the bees pursuing. Once at the hospital, Alex was pronounced dead.
Man.
Creepy videos that you shouldn't watch at night, but you're going to anyway. Part 10. I just held up 5. What the fuck? And for my dark web lovers, you will love this video, because this one actually surfaced on the dark web. Also, I might be going on a TV show. I got contacted by a company to make a TV show on Discovery Channel, pretty much about dark web and creepy videos, so thank you guys. So make sure to show some love so we can get him to see it. I just like my lights out. Alright, the video has since been deleted, but people actually downloaded it, so I'm just on YouTube. So this is in binary code. If anybody wants to decode that, please let me know. This video is pretty scary, so let's watch. What the fuck?
What's he wearing?
Oh, hell no. Here's the full binary code, so just save the video. So if you guys need help sleeping at night, click the link in my bio. And once you click the link, click on Get a Peaceful Sleep, and it's an app, download it, and you will get the most peaceful sleep of your life.
I don't know what the hell.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. Part 2. The Hoia Baciu Forest is considered the most haunted forest in all of Romania. Hundreds of people have gone missing within these woods, among other things like screams, laughter, babies crying, people being attacked by unseen paranormal forces, strange balls of light, UFOs, and in the very center of the forest lies a clearing where no plant life will grow. It is believed that this spot is a portal to another dimension. What do you think? Like and follow for more.
They need to freaking shut down that whole forest, man. You hear me screaming laughter, bro. That whole spot, where that little circle spot where it's just like nothing else is going. I feel like that's just like a portal, man, with some bad energy around there. Close it down.
Interesting people you've never heard of. This fisherman survived 6 hours in freezing water after his ship sank. He then walked near lava fields for 3 hours barefoot, and when he returned to safety, there were no signs of hypothermia, even though he was just wearing a shirt and jeans. Frank Hart was the first black athlete on a sports card back in 1880. This environmental activist climbed an over 1,000-year-old tree and didn't come back down for over 2 years. This farm boy from Idaho came up with the idea for an electronic television while he was plowing a field at 14 years old. This Italian banker, over a 7-year period, diverted over €1 million to his poorer clients from the wealthier clients so that they could qualify for loans. He made no profit and avoided jail in 2018 due to a plea bargain. This physician proved that yellow fever could be transmitted through a mosquito bite and unfortunately passed away from that mosquito bite just 17 days later.
He was dedicated to show the truth, man. He's a seeker of the truth for real.
This is known as the doll that aged. The doll used to look like this and was played with by a couple of kids, but then they started to grow up, so the doll was just locked away in the attic for like 14 years. So then as the parents went up to the attic to like clean it out, they were shocked to find the doll look like this.
How the hell was the doll aging?
Disturbing things Disneyland doesn't want you to know. A few years ago in Disney World, Florida, a little boy was snatched by a crocodile, and his remains were found a few hours later in a lake next to the park. Apparently the kid was just next to the water when the crocodile ate him up. Next, did you know that Disneyland has only closed 3 times throughout history? They were when JFK was shot, after a massive earthquake in 1994, and on September 11th, 2001. So let's just say they count on keeping their parks open for as long as possible. And finally, some rumors say that the skulls on the Pirate of the Caribbean ride are actually real human skulls. And if that's real, that is pretty messed up.
Fun fact, never been in Disney World ever.
Did you guys hear about the 34 24-year-old teacher that was essaying a 13-year-old student, and it turns out that they possibly have a 5-year-old child together. I'm at the point where this stuff doesn't even surprise me anymore because it's been happening so often lately. This woman's name is Laura Karen, and she was a 5th grade teacher in Middle Township Elementary School in New Jersey. So this whole thing started when Laura became the victim's teacher in the 5th grade. Laura and the victim's mother became friends, got to know each other, and she offered to take care of her kids. The victim, who was 11 years old at the time, was staying at Laura's house with his siblings regularly. Now, the kids went from going to Laura's house every day to then actually staying there permanently. It was said the kids did not go home anymore, and they basically lived in Laura's house from 2016 to 2020. During that time, the 11-year-old was being essayed by Laura, and allegedly they have a child together. Then fast forward a few years later, the victim's father saw a photo of Laura's child on Facebook, and he said, "This kid looks a lot like my son." He called police and an investigation began, and Laura was arrested, but they're still waiting on the DNA results. Now, when the siblings were asked if they saw anything weird going on in the house, they said that Laura and their brother slept in her bed every single night. And not only that, but apparently they also showered together, and they caught Laura essaying him one night. The siblings also said that when this baby was born, they knew that this was their brother's child, but they were told not to say anything because then Laura would get in trouble. And you guys won't believe this, but Laura was just released from jail until her next court date. This should be a wake-up call to people who leave their kids with literally just anyone. A lot of people believe that just because someone's a teacher, you can fully trust them, but what you may not know is that a lot of predators get positions that revolve around children just so that it's easier to get away with this kind of stuff.
Interesting people you've never heard
Can't trust
of.
anybody.
This dude ran out of gas in rural Maine in 1986 and then spent the next 27 years living isolated in the woods. This man was killed on a street in Brooklyn just before midnight on 9/11/2001, making him the sole victim of murders on that day because New York does not count the 9/11 attacks in its crime statistics, and his murder remains unsolved. This convicted Japanese war criminal recreated his prison cell at home because he believed that his 10-year sentence was too short, and he stayed there till he passed away. This professional swimmer retired due to lung complications after saving 20 people from debris-filled waters. Japan welcomed their first female fighter pilot in 2018 after she was inspired by Top Gun as a child. This basketball player slammed his head into a concrete post after he was frustrated getting his 5th foul and ultimately was never able to walk again.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your day. Firstly, you know these vacuum toilets that are most commonly used on planes and cruise ships? Well, there have been many reports of them sucking the rectum out of people when they flush. Next, this is just disappointing. 1 in 4 Americans actually believe that the sun rotates around the earth. Now, studies show that the average person will wait 5 months of their lifetime for red lights to turn green. You know when you're watching a movie or TV show and you hear these laugh tracks in the background? Well, most of them were recorded in the 50s, so you're hearing dead people laugh. This will ruin your childhood. The Red Power Ranger, Ricardo Medina, pleaded guilty to killing his roommate with a sword. Finally, you are now closer to death than you were when you started this video.
You want a Power Rangers for us, man. Who watched that when you was a kid, bro? Man, what's up with these actors, bro? It's like, once they lose their gig, it's over.
Disney princesses' gloves. Take a look at all the Disney princesses. Some are wearing gloves, some aren't. You'll notice that all the ones who aren't wearing gloves are commoners who married into royalty. Boo's real name in Monsters, Inc. is Mary. And this is the same as the young girl who voices Boo. Her name is Mary Gibbs. And her name is only visible when she's in their apartment and they're making drawings and her name is on the paper. Bambi only uses 72 unique words throughout the entire film. And in total, there are only about 900 words spoken throughout the entire thing as well. To get Robin Williams to play the genie in Aladdin, animators created a sequence of the genie performing Robin Williams stand-up routines. And this was one of the ways they pulled in Robin Williams for this part. Simba literally means lion. In Swahili, Simba directly translates to lion.
I never do that. What the hell? So his name is his name.
Only kids can hear this sound. So scientists discovered a sound they believe only kids can hear. The name of the sound is mosquito tone and it is at a frequency of 17 kilohertz. This is the sound. Let me know if you can hear it.
In 3, 2, 1.
don't.
Did you hear the sound? Sophomore?
Did Doja Cat sell her soul and now she's in the Illuminati? She recently celebrated her 27th birthday with the Illuminati themed party, and they say when you sell your soul, like the devil takes something from you. Watch this clip, it's weird. That clip is not from her birthday party, but basically she's making all these weird faces. We know her music is a little symbolic, but just watch this other clip of her looking like she's glitching, she's glaring off into space, it's weird.
Yo, check out Doja Cat. Tell me she don't time out. Looks like she just... Yo, what happened to her? She glitched. Yo, she glitched.
Celebrities are kind of weird, like we've seen Cardi B space out in the middle of interviews, but when you're winning an award, that seems like a time when you shouldn't be like spacey. What do you guys think about this? Do you think she sold her soul?
Man, people in the industry, you know, some like I said, her music is like symbolic, so, but to say that she had a birthday party and that was the theme, I don't know if that's just like trying to be hidden in plain sight, or she's just trying to, you know, like try to, you know, reflect that narrative back and just trying to, you know, be like, oh, it's just a party. It's everywhere, man.
Times when jokes backfired big time. In 2006, the high-end water Fiji ran an ad campaign jokingly saying the label says Fiji because it's not bottled in Cleveland. Well, the city of Cleveland, Ohio saw this and were offended because what did they ever do to deserve this? So rightfully, the city of Cleveland tested their tap water and found that it was actually cleaner and tastier than Fiji water. Next, several years ago, a California man jokingly got a personalized license plate that read no, and thought it would trick the database so whenever he got a ticket, it would register as no, meaning nothing. Well, the problem with that is, anytime there was an error on anyone else's license plate, they assigned it to him. He got $12,000 in fines.
Try to trick the system, ain't work.
This post made me think, what animal am I glad that I don't have to deal with? I'm cool with most animals, but I think I draw the line at bears, especially grizzly bears. And so the idea of the giant, short-faced bear is something I definitely find frightening. These were like grizzly bears, but much bigger. These were found in the Americas and went extinct towards the end of the last ice age.
Ooh.
So around 12,000 years ago. I don't know what it is about bears, but there's something about them that freaks me out more than any other animal. I'm not really sure why. Maybe one of my ancestors got chomped. As always, come talk on my Discord. You could even suggest content. Though the stickers are getting a little questionable. Info on my Discord in pinned.
Which animals are y'all glad that went extinct? Maybe the dinos for me. Could you guys imagine dinosaurs roaming the earth right now? Especially with the T-Rex. Nah.
Has anybody ever told you the terrifying true story of Snow White? I'm sure by now we all know the Disney version, but the Brothers Grimm version, which came before the Disney version, is actually much darker. In this version, the evil queen orders the huntsman to take Snow White into the woods, kill her, and bring back her liver and lungs for the queen to eat. Which is obviously very disturbing, but there's actually more to the story. Later in the story, the prince and Snow White are getting married, and they invite all the royalty in the land. The evil queen shows up, unknowing it was her stepdaughter's wedding. When she arrives, she's forced to step into burning hot iron shoes brought from the fireplace, and then she has to dance until she dies. And that's her punishment for trying to go after Snow White. I don't really feel bad for her, but gosh, I mean, this version is terrifying.
What's something small that completely changed the course of history? I'll go first. If not for a wobbly chair, we probably wouldn't have Social Security today. Giuseppe Zangara was an Italian immigrant who came to America in the 1920s for a better life. But he had a condition with his gallbladder that caused him immense pain and made him often unable to work. At the height of the Great Depression, there is a political rally near where Giuseppe lives in Miami. Giuseppe is a desperate man, and he was also a marksman in the Italian army. However, he was also only 5 feet tall, so he needed needs to stand on a wobbly metal chair in order to see over the crowd and get a good aim at President-elect Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Giuseppe fires 5 shots, but because the chair is wobbly, he hits the mayor of Miami instead of FDR. This was FDR's vice president at the time, John Nance Carter, a conservative Democrat from Texas who opposed New Deal policies like Social Security. And if it weren't for a wobbly chair, he would have been president instead of FDR.
Whoa. Change the course of history.
What is the
She needs
craziest thing
justice.
someone's confessed to on their deathbed? Well, a deathbed confession made this year solved a 20-year-old cold case. And this is coming from the Heart Starts Pounding podcast episode that's all about cold cases that were solved this year. So this year in West Virginia, a man named Larry Webb was dying. And before he died, he called a nurse over and said he needed to get it off his chest that he killed a woman and her daughter back in 2000. It turns out that back then, a woman named Susan Carter and her 10-year-old daughter Alex were living with Larry while Susan was in a custody battle with Alex's father. And one day they just disappeared, but because they were together when they disappeared, police assumed that Susan just ran away with her daughter. But Larry confirmed that that's not what happened. The story he gave on his deathbed is that one day he came home to see that Susan was stealing money from him, and so he shot her. And then panicking, he wanted to get rid of all the witnesses, and that included Alex, her daughter. And to me, the craziest thing in all of this is that Larry had really bad dementia, so when he gave this confession, they weren't really convinced that it was true. But the day after he died, both of their remains were found in his backyard. If you want to hear more on that story and other cold cases that were solved this year, check out the Cold Cases That Were Solved This Year episode of the Heart Starts Pounding podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
When it's the end, man. When the end is near, people, that's when they want to tell the truth, I guess, you know. Get it off their chest. I'm burnt.
The world's most dangerous conspiracy theories. This picture represents conspiracy theories from the most well-known to the darkest. Some of these theories say once you learn the truth, there's no return. For this series, we're going to be picking some from each category until we reach Tier 10, the point of no return. Tier 10 is so scary that some people are saying that I will die before I even reach Tier 10. Okay, Tier 1. Today we're going to be talking about cryptozoology. Cryptozoology is defined as the search for animals whose existence is disputed. For example, Bigfoot, Chupacabra, and the Loch Ness Monster. For this one, I want to talk about the Ningen. The Ningen is based in Japan, and it's an aquatic humanoid creature that can be larger than a whale but also mutate into a human. I know what you're thinking. No way this is real. I thought the same thing until I saw this. In 2007, a company published a magazine with Ningens on the cover. The magazines were completely destroyed with no trace, but I found the PDF file of what it looked like. It gets even weirder. Early February 2013, a huge mysterious object washes ashore that makes locals freak out. 3 days later, the website was taken down without a trace. Doing some more research, I found out that people from Japan created a forum page talking about all of the government corruption that was happening. They then began to speak on the Ningen, and somebody says that he was on the research ship when they captured it on camera, and then government officials raided the boat and even supposedly killing some of the people. 3 days later, the forum page was taken down without a trace, but I found it once again, and take a look at one of the videos somebody posted. So what do you think? Is this Ningen just some myth, or is the government hiding something much darker? This was only Tier 1. Make sure to follow to see Tier 2 because we have a lot more to cover.
Did you know
some truth to that?
Forks were used in ancient China, which were then replaced by chopsticks. It has rained more in Los Angeles this year than in Seattle. Your red blood cells only live about 120 days. Coke had 3 different opportunities 100 years ago to buy Pepsi and refused every single time. Christmas lights used to be a status symbol because they would often be rented instead of bought because they were so expensive. This river in the Amazon has boiling water. Australia has the highest skin cancer rate in the world. Angel Falls in Venezuela is the highest uninterrupted waterfall in the world. The Eiffel Tower can be taller by about 15 centimeters in the summer due to the increased temperatures expanding the metal. It only took Lady Gaga 10 minutes each to write Poker Face, Born This Way, and Just Dance. The Cubs 2016 World Series ring includes an engraving of the Billy Goat that was refused entry in the 1945 World Series, which caused the owner to lay a curse on the team.
One of my favorite Saw traditions is back. For those who don't know, for every Saw movie that comes out, they have a Saw blood drive. It's a partnership with the Red Cross. They did it for the very first Saw movie as a way to promote the film. If you come and give us some blood, we give you free tickets to see the movie. But the original filmmakers saw how successful this was. They saw how many people came out to donate blood, and they decided they wanted to do it again, but just to mostly help people than anything. And they did this for the Saw movies 1 through 8.
And by the time Saw 8, aka Jigsaw, finished its promotional campaign, over 360,000 total lives have been saved because of the Saw franchise. I did make a video talking about this back in 2021. Wow, the difference a few years makes. They had to skip over the blood drive for Spiral, I'm assuming because of COVID-related reasons, but now it's back for Saw X, and the posters look so good. They're also advertising all blood types are accepted from all people, which is amazing.
Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. At least that's what a lot of people think. And here's some of the evidence that they cite when they talk about this case. So after his initial arrest, Jeffrey Epstein was placed on suicide watch for a number of reasons, even though he was continuously telling prison psychologists, friends, attorneys that he wouldn't do that and he's never considered it. So first of all, let's take a look at this sign. This is a sign that was hanging on or around Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell. No one knows why this question mark is around the mandatory. A newspaper even reached out to the Bureau of Prisons to ask about why there was an underlying question mark here, but they refused to comment. 7:49 on the night before they found Epstein dead in his cell. He's led to his cell and he's placed there. So Epstein had been on suicide watch for weeks at this point, but he had just been taken off suicide watch the day before. The people running the prison, the Bureau of Prison System, they recommended that Jeffrey Epstein needed to have a roommate at all times. Even if he had been taken off of the list, he was still on the list, if you know what I mean. Well, for some reason, that night his roommate was not assigned to him, they were removed from the cell, and that left Jeffrey Epstein completely alone in his jail cell. Now remember this sign that said that they have to search his cell and look at Jeffrey Epstein every 30 minutes? Well, that did not happen. Well, it turns out that the two security guards that were supposed to check on him every 30 minutes, Michael Thomas and Tova Noel, did not check on him for over 8 hours. Video surveillance footage literally shows them playing with their phones and sleeping on the job. And keep in mind that Epstein at this point was America's most high-profile criminal. This dude was all over the news. And after all this, these two were charged with falsifying documents and attempting to defraud the federal government. So something that's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way about all this is the security camera footage itself. Now, this is a prison. Every angle should have been being captured at every single moment. You know, anything can happen in prison. And video footage of the security guards exists from that night, but there is no video footage of Epstein's cell block area or his cell door. It's actually been reported that the camera that was shooting the angle down Jeffrey Epstein's cell block area corrupted the night that he took his own life. Of all times for this one specific camera to corrupt and the footage to be lost, it was that night when it happened. And there's a lot more that we're going to get into, but like I said, there's just a lot here that we're going to cover, but this quote really says a lot about what I just told you. So, Epstein's taken off suicide watch the day before he kills himself. His roommate is removed from the cell. The cameras on his tier are not working. The guards fell asleep. It seems almost impossible to think all those things could happen in that way. And this is Epstein we're talking about, America's most high-profile prisoner. In fact, the suicide watch observation log, this is the actual document, shows that Epstein was acting pretty normally that day. Which isn't to say that he wasn't deceiving people by saying he didn't want to take his own life when he was secretly trying to get alone time where he could do it, but it's still an interesting side note. In the next TikTok, we're going to get into the really crazy stuff.
Solitary confinement, John Wayne Gacy. You must have all heard of the 2017 Hollywood blockbuster It, or even the original movie.
Oh, come on, bucko. Don't you want a balloon?
The movies are actually based on John Wayne Gacy. Gacy started off performing as a clown to entertain children and raise money for charity. He named himself Pogo the Clown, but under the colorful clown avatar was a remorseless criminal. Gacy was an executioner and a torturer and was convicted of executing 33 people, usually men, between January 1972 and late 1978. He was executed with a lethal injection in the late 1994.
This photo is of the Cincinnati Crawler. It was taken by a family who caught him in their home in 1974, but he escaped shortly afterwards. So in 1974, the Johnson family in Cincinnati noticed a couple weird things happening in their home. The 14-year-old daughter, Claire, would complain about seeing glowing eyes outside of her window at night. And then one night, the youngest son, Timmy, was laying in bed in the dark when he felt the family dog jump up onto his bed. But when he went to go pet it, it was not the dog. It was the Crawler, who police still believe was responsible for the disappearance of 4 other boys in the area. Some believe that he was an escaped convict, while others actually believe that he was the victim of human experiments happening in the area that may have been conducted by the family's dad. Claire snapped this photo of him before he escaped, but he was never found since.
What do you guys think about that, man? The human crawler. I never heard that theory that they said he was based on like human experiments on working by the dad. That's a new twist I didn't hear before. That's interesting. Imagine seeing that, man, in the middle of the night. Pee my pants, bro. Okay, they caught on camera.
The urban legend of humans can lick too. In the beginning,
A young woman was home alone with her dog. She was closing the windows and locking the doors before getting into bed, when one window wouldn't lock. She decided to leave it and just go to bed as usual. As she gets into bed, her dog takes his usual spot under her bed. She knows she's safe when he's there. In the deep of the night, she awakens to the sound of dripping coming from the bathroom. She's scared and doesn't want to get up to check, so she reaches down to the dog under the bed for a lick of reassurance, as she usually does. She falls back to sleep. Once more the girl is awakened by the sound of dripping and again reaches for her dog's reassuring lick, and then falls soundly back to sleep. Awakened once again, and now curious, the girl gets up to have a look to see where the dripping is coming from. She opens the bathroom door, and what she found was horrific.
her dog was hanging from the shower with a slit throat. The noise she could hear was his blood dripping into the tub, and on the mirror written in the dog's blood it read,
What happened to Avril Lavigne? There's a theory that Avril lives in 3 due to the pressures of fame following the death of her grandfather. However, because of her success, the record label concealed the news and replaced her with Melissa Vandella, a body double who was originally hired to divert paparazzi. This theory is supported by photos of Avril Lavigne taken before and after 2004. When they are side by side, you can see many differences, including skin blemishes and slight differences in hair. In addition, her normal speaking voice changed, and during one promotional shoot, she even had Melissa written on her hand, leading many to believe that. Her handwriting also changed. Now what do you think? Subscribe and follow for more.
After more than 60 years with no answers, police say they finally know the identity of the boy in the box, aka America's unknown child. It's a case that captivated the country, leaving everyone with one question. Who was this boy? Need a refresher? Let's get into it. In 1957, the body of a young boy believed to be between the ages of roughly 4 and 6 years old was found stuffed inside a bassinet box and left on the side of the road in Philadelphia. There were no clues as to who the boy was or who might have murdered him. Now, here's where things get even more confusing. His cause of death was ruled to be blunt force trauma. He seemed to have healed scars on various parts of his body, scars that were reminiscent of a surgery. The boy also appeared to be cleaned and freshly groomed with a haircut, police said in 2021. The story garnered national attention, but despite the immense level of interest, the case went cold for more than 60 years. It was the Philadelphia Police Department's oldest unsolved murder and the longest homicide case the department had continuously investigated. According to CBS News, the boy's remains were buried in a potter's field before being exhumed in 2019 for further DNA analysis. Though testing lasted a few years, it eventually led to the development of a new DNA profile that helped investigators find the boy's family members and eventually his birth certificate. Now, thanks to years of DNA research and genealogical analysis, there's finally been a breakthrough, meaning that after 6 decades, there will finally be a name on the tombstone of America's unknown child. The Philadelphia Police Department is preparing to announce the identity of the child sometime this week, and although what really happened to the boy and the identity of the perpetrator are still unsolved, investigators are one step closer to solving the case of the boy in the box.
60 years, man, for the boy to get justice.
What happened to this girl? So the internet is so concerned for this YouTuber named Kate Young. She made mukbang videos, and if you don't know what that is, they're videos where you're just eating and people are watching you. She was eating so much food in such a quick amount of time, as if she was being forced to eat. The videos are also really concerning because you can see she's blindfolded in all of the videos to conceal her identity. And you would maybe think, like, oh yeah, like, she just doesn't want people to know who she is. That's fine, it's the internet. But on top of that, she looks like she's kind of being abused. Like, I don't know, I get a bruise here and there, but girl looks busted in her video. And behind the camera, you hear this person saying, faster, come on, things like that. She always looks super anxious in her video. But in these videos, she's eating so fast that she actually chipped her tooth in one and kept eating. When she chips her tooth, she shows it to the camera, and it's literally rotted. She leaves hidden messages in her videos, like capital letters spelling out SOS or help in her sentences that she writes on the video. If you want a video of this, let me know. She also leaves Morse code messages in her videos saying SOS and help. I can show you if you want, just let me know. And at the end of one of her videos, you can see her mouth the words help me. Check out part 2 if you want to see theories about who she might be. Follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more content.
Yeah, we're gonna need to find a part 2 to that. A freaking Mukbang was forced to eat, ask for help. That's scary.
This is the devastating case of Kylie Rodney. On August 6, 2022, 16-year-old Kylie went missing at Prosser Family Campground in Truckee, California. Kylie attended a school party with more than 100 kids, but it's alleged that older people also showed up, which made a lot of the teens uncomfortable. Kylie texted her mom right before midnight and told her that she would be home in 45 minutes, but the following morning, Kylie's mother got super worried when Kylie was still not home. One of Kylie's friends said that she was with her the entire evening until she decided to go home at 12:20 a.m. Police searched Prosser Lake for more than 15 hours but were unable to find Kylie's vehicle. But on August 21st, a group of divers who go by the name Adventures with Purpose decided that they would help look for Kylie. It didn't take the group of divers much time to locate Kylie's car, only 14 feet underwater. The car was upside down and Kylie's body was inside. The investigation is still ongoing and the autopsy results have not been released yet. So what do you guys think happened to Kylie? Was this a tragic accident or was there foul play involved?
I'm going with foul play, man. It has to be.
You're going to put me in prison and I'm gonna rot and die. Please don't cut off my head. I'm just waiting. And I'll be preparing and hold on the outside. Sometimes I'm looking in.
Think you guys are gonna just run away? So then live in the forest?
I don't know. I told her that we were going to die.
Why?
Because you can't just live in a forest. You know what happened to Bella?
What happened to Bella? Is Bella your friend?
She's not Anissa. She's the one who was stabbed.
Stabbed? I'm not really sure.
Is she dead?
I don't know. She went staying in the hospital. Maybe no.
What? I was just wondering.
That was very eerie. You can tell, man, that she wasn't all there. She's up giddy playing. She's that young too. Just a shame.
This story has so many twists and turns to it. This is Sophie Reer, and she was just 15 years old when she went missing in May of 2017. When Sophie was 2 years old, her parents ended up getting divorced, and for the first part of her life, she was living with her mother. Her mother was said to have been much more strict than her father was, so she did have quite a lot of rules, but unfortunately Sophie was rebelling as a teenager. She would purposely disobey her mother, and sometimes she would run away from home, and at one point she actually ran away for several days. Eventually it got to the point where Sophie decided that she would rather live with her father, and apparently her father was much more relaxed and kinda gave her a little bit more freedom. When Sophie's mother was helping her pack to help her move to her father's house, she ended up finding some very surprising things in her bag. She discovered that her daughter, who was only 15 years old, had a lot of lingerie, she had alcohol, she had illegal substances as well. When she confronted Sophie about it, all she did was smile and laugh it off. When Sophie moved in with her father, he ended up getting her a cell phone, which actually ended up making the whole thing worse. She continued to act out and basically did whatever she wanted to do, and at one point she was even shoplifting. It got so bad that at one point her father ended up threatening her, saying that he was going to send her to an all-girls boarding school. On May 19, 2017, Sophie ended up sneaking out of the house where her father was living in Fort Lauderdale. The following morning, he's surprised to see that Sophie's not in her bedroom, so he calls her, texts her, but she's not responding. He then calls his ex-wife to see if Sophie maybe had gone off to see her mother, but she says that she hasn't seen her either, so they call and report her missing. According to her father, he said the last time he saw her was around 11:30 p.m. the night before she went missing. He did say that he saw that his daughter was pacing back and forth and she seemed kind of nervous, but he didn't really make a huge deal out of this, so he just ended up telling her to go to her room and go to bed. The next morning, when he goes to her bedroom around 9:30 in the morning, he sees that there is a lit candle, her laptop is there was also some money, and her bed was neatly made. However, then he noticed her calendar on her wall, and he noticed that on May 19th, she had drawn a big X on it. When they looked through her daughter's laptop, they were shocked to find out that she had actually been visiting sugar daddy websites. As they searched her bedroom again, they ended up finding a second secret cell phone under her bed, and it had several contacts in it. And one of those contacts ended up being a former felon that she had been communicating with quite regularly. Sophie was caught on CCTV footage that night, and that's the last known sighting we have of her. She was said to have been wandering the streets till about 2:30 in the morning. And coincidentally, the man that she had been communicating with also lived in the area, and her cell phone pinged at his apartment at 9 o'clock in the morning the next day. Police believe that Sophie was very likely groomed by this ex-felon and was lured to his apartment. They then think that she probably fell victim to human trafficking. If you know anything about Sophie Reer, contact this number here.
That was a sad story, bro.
Scariest things found in the woods, PT.5.
Still didn't have justice, bro. Imagine walking to the woods and walking to a cabin and finding that. That would haunt me to the rest of my days, bro. Just seeing something like that.
Here's some of the most disturbing lost footage. On August 15th, 1989, a man pulled to the side of Interstate 205 after his car overheated. Him and his son decided to go and find the nearest phone for help, but discovered a jacket not too far from the car. Under the jacket was an unlabeled VHS tape, but they were not prepared for its contents.
My hell, the whole sky is black with smoke. The fire department's trying to put it out. What a laugh. I can't eat no more.
Arsonist?
The cameraman was standing not far from a house completely in flames while whispering strange and eerie phrases to himself. The footage was given to the police, but they were unable to identify the house or the cameraman. The jacket that the tape was found with was also searched by police, and they found a wooden pestle and a ceramic skull, which made them suspect the arsonist was a devil worshipper. It wasn't until the tape was featured on the show Unsolved Mysteries that the house was identified. The house was located in Redwood City, about 80 miles from where the tape was found. On the night of the fire, the Woodside fire captain also recorded the burning house, and the videos were soon found to be a confirmed match. Redwood City Police Detective Mark Polo stated that he already had 2 suspects. Both were minors. After questioning the pair, they both admitted to starting the fire. One was sent to juvie while the other was committed to a mental hospital.
Crazy, man. It was in the back just recording it and go up in flames. Yeah, they definitely need help. seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video, comment down below, hit that subscribe button, man. Also, don't forget to hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.